Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham of goodforthegame.co.za, and welcome to the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. You can see my guests at the top of the screen, the Undertaker and the Oracle. You'll get a glimpse of their mugs in just a few seconds' time as well. Just a reminder, if you do like the show, hit the like button and also the subscribe button. Hit the bell to make sure you get notified. And just throw in this little note in there. Just remember, everybody, we're punters who love our rugby. We share our strategies and bets, but do not consider this financial advice. And I think all of us can consider ourselves fairly successful punting-wise. But as they said in Homer Simpson, when Homer Simpson watched the program and the guy said he was right 52% of the time, and Homer lost all his money, and the guy said, remember, that means I'm wrong 48% of the time. And let's bring Gavin Cohen, the Oracle, in there now. Gav, if you've got a 52-48 strike rate, you're doing okay. Are you muted, Gav?
I read that book, good. What is it called? A poker book. Can't remember. Anyway, it was, I remember the name, I'll let you know. The guy said, to beat the 9 to 10, you just need to be 53.5% right, and you're in the money. And, you know, yes, you're not going to get them all right. And if you're clever, and this is somebody I met when I was younger, said, don't stick the stake. I used to put the same stake on every game. And, you know, the unit system definitely works. So, yeah, you've just got to beat the 52% and you're in the money. And if you stake your stuff correctly, you'll be closer to 55 or 56. And that's good enough. Anyway, I just want to share one compliment I received today. Those who can see my shirt, it's got these little stripes on the side. Guy said to me, that's the best shirt I've seen you wear this year. And he said, how old is it? I said, I bought it in 1999. It's 25 years old. I lost the zip 10 years ago. So I'm quite excited. I got a compliment on my 25-year-old shirt. So I'm cruising today.
Excellent. Well, that's the Oracle. Let's go down to the bottom of the screen to the Undertaker. Henrik, let me get that right. I've been calling him Henrik all these years, as Englishmen do. But Henrik, great to have you back on the show. And first up, mate, how was that experience in Cape Town last week? Must have been phenomenal.
Yeah, Brent, it was great being in the stadium. First test match I've watched at the Cape Town Stadium. And with it being a sold-out game like it was, and against the All Blacks, always a special test. I really enjoyed it. Took my wife and kids along. They really enjoyed it. My boy, before the kickoff even started, he turned to me and he said, I'm going to say it in English now, we're Afrikaans, but he said that this is the best day ever. So, yeah, we really enjoyed it. It was a special day, and it's memories that's going to last for my kids and for me as well. Yeah, it was just a great experience the whole day. The Cape Town Stadium is, I've been on this before, but yeah, it's just a great stadium. I was a big Newlands fan, but yeah, the Cape Town Stadium it is a much better fan experience. Newlands, there was so much tradition and history and stuff, but the fan experience is so much better at the Cape Town Stadium.
Yeah, I asked Couch Critic actually on Twitter, because I remember you saying that you really enjoyed the Cape Town Stadium, and I know he gets around to watch a few test matches. And he pretty much said the same thing. He said Loftus is great, Ellis Park, atmosphere is great in the stadium. He doesn't enjoy the actual stadium experience as much, getting there. But he says Cape Town is top. So great. I've got to make a plan to get there one day. Well, welcome to all the guys in the live chat. I put a few of their messages up already. Scenes here, Mark, Werner, Johan, they're all watching in the live chat. Look forward to your contributions, gents. We're going to start off tonight. We're going to talk about a Currie Cup semi-finals. Then we're going to touch on the NPC with Henrik, and shall I say, and I'll stress that it's going to be him doing all the talking there. I'll just lead him with the betting. And then we'll look ahead to next week's Rugby Championships, just a few comments there. And finally, of course, wrap up with our best bets. But let's get going. We've got Currie Cup semi-finals time. And I have not seen, and Henrik, have you seen any points lines or not in the Currie Cup? I've looked just before the show. I couldn't find it. So unfortunately, we don't have points lines, but we got a handicap here. Lions, and I've taken the sort of average. There's 13.5. There's also a little bit of 11.5 still available. But Lions minus 12.5 against the Cheetahs. Henrik, I'm sure if you saw my best bet, you'll know what I'm on here.
Yeah, no, I saw your email with the best bet, Brent, and I saw your post on a Good for Game forum. I'm 100% in your corner. Like I said last week, for me, the Lions, the best team in the Currie Cup. They're going to win the Currie Cup. And they are so impressive. Even last week against the Griffins, they put them away properly. That handicap was always too low, even though it was a very big handicap. They're obviously going to be very serious about this game being a semi-final. They would want the home final. And the Cheetahs, I didn't expect the Cheetahs to win last week. I didn't see that game. Obviously, I was at the Cape Town Stadium already then, so I didn't see a minute of the Pumas versus Cheetahs game. I expected the Pumas to win. But, yeah, the Cheetahs, I'm hoping that they maybe played the final last weekend or the playoff game last weekend, because it was a playoff game for them. And the Lions obviously didn't have to go all out against the Griffins, so I suspect they might be a bit better rested for this game. Home game at Ellis Park. Yeah, I agree with you. This handicap should be high, and you predicted that this would move up to 15. I saw your post and your newsletter. I like the minus, Brent. I'm 100% in your camp this with the Lions. Points wise, I would probably look at. There's been lots of points at Ellis Park. I would like to lean unders on Cheetahs, but yeah, it depends on the quota. The Currie Cup has been very high scoring, and normally total points you're lucky to get anything under 60s. Maybe because it's a semi-final, the bookmakers might think otherwise about this one. If I can get a points line on the Cheetahs mid-20s or higher, I'd look unders on Cheetahs here, because I expect the Lions to take them to be better team by some margin here. And obviously, if you're on the minus, you would want the Lions to be on the ball with the defense as well. But yeah, I agree. Just the minus is probably the best way to go here.
So yeah, giving away what I think on this game already. When the newsletter went out earlier, if you haven't signed up for the Good for the Game newsletter, it normally comes out on a Friday. I decided to come out because I could really see this market moving quite aggressively. There is a link down in the description box below. But let's get Oracle's views on this one. Oracle, as I said, handicap started. There was, I would say, 11.5 early. A couple of bookies came out 10.5. A couple came out 12.5. I went out today. I said, guys, take all the 10.5 you can get. I took it in a couple of places at the end. I was eventually taking 5 to 6 on the minus 10.5. But I've stocked up on that. And now the question is, whether I will just sit it out or try and trade. What do you feel? Do you think we're on the right track here with the Lions?
I think this is an obvious one, Brent. Excuse me. I'm puzzled that the only thing they've got right here is double digits, but they've got the first digit wrong. This should be closer to 20, 25. So going on, excuse me, what Henrik said, if we're going at a moderate expectation of 60 points, you can take the 12 off that leaves 48, cut that in half, it's 24. I'm going to tell you, you can sell Cheetahs points at 20. They won't get 20 in this game. Under 20, definitely a good bet. I agree with that. I've been to these playoff games. Lions don't have to score 50 here. They'll score enough to win this game comfortably, and that's 20, because remember, the first comfort line's really at 15. They're going to score another one. So for me, a minimum win here is 22 for the Lions, or 20 for that matter. I can't see the Lions winning this game by less than 20. So that's number one. And I'm sorry, I don't see the Cheetahs scoring 20 points. So yeah, I'm a unders punter on Cheetahs, and I'm a minus punter here. This is crazy. I wouldn't even bother with this 12. Find the minus 19, find the minus 24.5. Those are the ones that I'm looking for at 4, 5, 6 to 1. That's, I'm not a Monday punter. I'm going to wait a little bit. And there will be a little bit of money for Cheetahs when it gets up to your 15 expectation line. If it gets up to 16, there might be a bit of Cheetahs money, brings it back into 13 or 14. I just think that the value's at the minus 19 and the minus 24. I think the Lions will win this game comfortably. I did watch the game, unlike Henrik. They were quite lucky in the beginning, and then the Pumas almost gave up. So I think that result is probably a little bit flattering, if that's a lack of a better English word. The Pumas gave up at the end. They I was in plus 8.5 punter when they were down by 6. And I looked at this. I thought this is a bit of value. But they got smashed in the end. And this wasn't good cheaters. This was average cheaters. Pumas threw the towel in. So I was quite disappointed with them. I made that my best bet of the week. Interestingly, and I'll just point this out. I suppose we can talk about it later. That's fine. Carry on. Next game.
Okay, when we talk about... Well, so just to wrap up my thoughts on the Currie Cup here. I mean, I think, yes, Cheetah's good last week against the Pumas. I didn't watch the whole... I was actually away. I watched it on and off. But I tend to agree with Gavin of the Pumas throwing the towel in there a little bit. If you look at the Lions against the Cheetahs this year, beat them by 17 points in Bloemfontein with what I believe will be a weaker Lions team that will take to the field this week. I haven't seen... The only team I've actually seen so far is the Sharks. I think they're the only ones to release. But the Lions, I'm actually expecting, a similar team maybe to last week. A few of the URC boys in there. I think they are going to be too strong, and I think the money is going to keep on coming there. I also, in playoff games, am never afraid of a bit of a minus, because what tends to happen is the one team gets fired in front. They can keep taking the 3 points and just building their lead, and the team that's behind obviously can start to panic. Obviously, that does mean the Lions have to be the team in front for my logic to work there. But anyway, firmly on the Lions, so quite a bit of agreement in the camp at the moment. We're going to go on to the next game. And Gavin, I'm going to start with you here. We got Bulls minus 5.5 against the Sharks. I know you don't worry too much about the teams. I can tell you, Sharks have named their team. Esterhuizen, the big surprise there, because we all thought he was injured coming in at centre. So it's a decent team. But I put the good for the game preview out about 3 or 4 hours ago, and I said it was still minus 3.5 at Bet Exchange Bulls. And I said, take the minus 3.5. I'm not yet sure that that's what I fancy. But I said this line, in my opinion, to be fair, the 5.5 was already elsewhere. I think this line will start probably 6.5. I think the money's going to come to the home team. What are your views on this game?
Firstly, I don't even know who the player you just mentioned was or is. If you put him next to a potato, I wouldn't know which one is the rugby player. I don't know the players. I got absolutely no idea. And I've faced a little bit of abuse on the channel. Brent, there's a bit of a what do they call them? Not stalkers. Can't remember. Anyway, guy.
Are you thinking of trolls? Although I'd like to say, in fairness, I think the guys who commented, they're making genuine comments, and you've got a genuine argument, and
Yeah, so I want to explain that. So
a bit different,
yeah. So I'm sitting in this guy's house, 2006, 2007. It was a long time ago, nearly 20 years ago. And there's two people in the room with me. It's winter. They've got the fireplace going on. And I just got 50 grand on the game. So 50,000 Rand. So what's that? 2,500 euros, thereabouts. And the other guy says to him, do you think there was a penalty? Ike says, I don't know the rules of rugby. He says, but you got 50 grand on the go. He says, I don't know the rules of rugby. So you can't comment. I mean, you can comment, obviously. Anybody can comment. But the point is, you can't kick somebody's betting style or what makes their money. I mean, Henrik makes money his way. You make money your way, and I make money my way. I mean, we're not going to criticize each other for the way we make money. I don't need to know the players' names. I've never known them. Yes, if you put the 2023 Rugby World Cup 23 up on the board, I probably recognize. I'm going to be over zealous here and say I probably get 15 of their names. But I don't know. I mean, my Lions team, I know this Van der Berg guy they're taking to Argentina. I don't know the players' names. I know a few of them, but I don't know their names. And it doesn't bother me. I'm of the opinion the bookmakers, and again, I've been a bookmaker pricing up on rugby for many years. I take all of that into account already. If it's a minus and plus system, you take out a player that's good, he's injured, you take 1 or 2 points off the handicap. You bring in a guy that's better, you put 1 or 2 points on the handicap. It's just maths. I'm not worried about the guy. We don't know. We are so far away from the actual information about the argument he had with his wife, or the kid failing at school, or anything else that's coming into his brain when he walks onto the field. We don't know the emotional and physical and all of the state of these people. We don't know that. We've got to go with other information. And I've been successful with other information. I'm not worried about that stuff. And you know what, Henrik, we remember Brendan. Remember Brendan, that guy used to know where the kid went to school of the rugby player. He knew where the wife worked. I mean, that guy knew everything. We were so confident that he didn't have a job, that he knew so much about those players and what they were doing off the field. So, I'm okay with not knowing the players' names. I'm really okay with it. I've had that conversation with myself, and I'm happy. I make money the way I make money. I'm looking at this game, Brent, and I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to tell you they got the wrong favourite here, but I'm a Sharks punter here, and I'm not even going to bother with a plus. I'm going to tell you that they're good enough to win this game on the board. I do think it'll be a close game, so I'm not, I'd rather take the 15-10, 18-10 that you're going to get about the Sharks at this handicap. And if you're right, and I'm gonna believe you're right here. Actually, I'm going to take your advice, and I'm going to wait a couple of days to punt the Sharks because they might even go out to 5-2 or even over 2-1, and that's value for me on a game that anybody can win. Sure, the Bulls can win, and of course they can win by 10. I'm a Sharks punter at these prices. It's too much for me. Too big.
Right. He's on the
Sorry,
Sharks.
one more thing. They've had good form going into this position. I mean, to get to where they are now, the Sharks have had probably the best form in the last 5 or 8 games. So, I'm a Sharks punter.
Unbeaten in 7 games, and I think they might have won 6 in a row. And Henrik, of course, one of those games was last week in Durban in the wet weather. It was sort of back and forth the whole time. I think it was 24-18 to the Sharks. In the end, are you I'm in the Bulls camp mainly because, as I said, 3.5, I could see the money coming for the Bulls. I haven't really made up my mind yet, but I see myself leaning Bulls here. Gavin is on the Sharks. You've got to separate us.
Now, Brent, just before I get onto this game, to touch on what Gavin said now about knowing the teams and all that stuff, about rugby betting in general. I started off, look, I've always been a massive rugby fan from school days. And before I had a wife and kids, I had lots of time on hand and I watched a lot of rugby. So I was a massive fan. And then someday I was like, I think I was working like 2 or 3 years, and I never knew about betting. And the one guy told me, you can bet on sports. I'm like, you can bet on sports? I didn't know that. I was working already. I didn't know you can bet on sports. I knew about casinos and stuff. And I considered myself as a pretty knowledgeable rugby guy. And then I started like small, like 20 Rand bets and that. And I was quite successful early on because I knew the game, I knew the players. I watched a lot of like on a weekend I wouldn't miss a minute of Super Rugby. I watched all the games, and then, well, as the years go on, like now I don't have that much time, so I don't know the players. Well, I know the players pretty well, but not as well as I did, and probably don't know rugby as good as I did those days. But now I've got betting experience in my favor. You get a feel of the games. You get a feel of the betting. You know when the betting is wrong, those kind of stuff. So, and like Gavin, he says he doesn't know the players that well, but he knows when the betting is wrong. He's got betting experience. So we that are older and been in betting a long time, we've got that advantage. Okay, but getting to this game, I'm 100% in the Bulls camp here, Brent. I like the minus. I think the Bulls will win well here. And yeah, Loftus has been pretty high scoring last year, 2 years, 3 years. So I'd like Bulls points here as well, even though it's a semi-final. I think Bulls overs, whatever the line is, you can go over some Bulls points here. But I like the minus stronger. I think this minus is. I'd make it closer to 9.5, 8.5, 9.5 at least. And there's some 3.5 still available. Just before the show, I saw some 3.5 as well. So yeah,
is that
yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I took it. They're obviously not afraid of my money because I took it. I took it with BetX, and there's been no movement. When I sent my newsletter out, Hollywood had gone up to 13.5 within about 8 minutes. And they actually came back down because I suspect guys were starting to take the middle then already, But yeah, okay, interesting that one. Yeah, so you and me, Henrik, on this one, pretty firmly in the Bulls camp. You're very firmly. And Gavin Sharks, I see Johan Esthuizen, he's in the Gavin Oracle camp there. He says Sharks plus is the value. That brings us to the end of the Currie Cup. We'll obviously come back to it when we talk best bets. Henrik, I'm going to bring up a website. I'm going to bring up the PokerBet site here, just simply because I've got all the betting here on the NPC games that will help you in terms of taking it through. And we'll get cracking. I'll just mention the betting, and you can tell me your thoughts on the game. Southland up against Canterbury, the home side here, plus 8.5. and a points line of 51.5. This game tomorrow morning.
So this morning there was still on PokerBet there was plus 10.5. So there has been a bit of money for Southland. Southland, they used to be the whipping boys of the NPC. I know they went like I think 3 years or something like that without a win, but they're pretty decent these days. And Canterbury obviously has gone a bit backwards. Last week they won well, if I remember correctly. Like I said last week as well, I love the NPC, but I don't follow it as closely as I used to. But yeah, I like Southland on the plus here, Brent. I'm looking at the team to the right to my screen on the other side here. They've got a decent team now. They've got 2 good locks. They've got even the Groot back from the All Blacks. And the Canterbury, they've played well, but I see they fly off. They've got a young fly off. I can't remember his name now. He was quite impressive, but I see he's not starting at 10. I see there's Sean Miyake starting, who I'm not really familiar with. But yeah, I think at home, Deep South, Southland, I think the plus is the way to go, yeah. I'm pretty confident on the plus.
Okay, confident on the plus. If I do miss any games, let me know. I'm just going with what's on the list here. But on the Saturday, we got Bay of Plenty up against the Taranaki Bulls. Home team here, minus 3.5 and a points line of 57.5.
Now, this one opened up pretty much as a choice game. I think there was actually more than even money on Bay of Plenty available. Yeah, obviously there's been some money. And I like Bay of Plenty at home. Taranaki, they've done well so far. They've got a good team on paper. But yeah, I like the home team, Bay of Plenty, on the minus 3.5.
Right, North Harbour against Manawatu. North Harbour, big favourites here, minus 20.5. A high points line, 66.5.
Yeah, Harbour, they played against Auckland last week in the Battle of the Bridge. Closely lost that one. It was quite controversial there at the end I don't know if it was at the end, but I saw a clip of a scrum. North Harbour had a scrum, and there was time off for a injury or something, and the Auckland scrum off. He took the ball and he like wiped it against his face, against his players, the other players' jerseys that's wet, and I think they even threw some water on the ball as well. And as soon as the ref called time on, he gave the ball to Bryn Hall, the North Harbour scrum off. And Bryn obviously realized the ball is very wet, and he like ran to the sideline to change the ball, and the ref free kicked him for wasting time. So there was that was quite a controversial moment, and in the end, Auckland won the game. But Manawatu, they're the type of side that there's always points in their game. They can lose by 30 points, but still score 30 points on their own as well. So their games are quite high scoring. I didn't check the weather for this one in Albany, but if the weather is good, it's a 4:30 Saturday afternoon kickoff. There will be points in this one, in my opinion. So yeah. And what's the handicap, did you say there, Brent? It's quite a big handicap.
It was 20.5.
Yeah, I'd lean towards Manawatu. They can score points. So yeah, small lean towards the plus, but I think if the conditions are good, you can expect points in this one.
Right, and then last week you were very strong on the Waikato plus, and I didn't follow the result, but from the comments I saw on Twitter and in the forum, you were spot on there, Henrik. You nailed that up. I think it was plus 12.5 or something, and you suggested it should be a lot lower. Did they come close?
6.
Sorry, they lost by 6. So comfortable win on the handicap there. They are now minus 3.5 at home against Hawke's Bay. Yeah,
Hawke's Bay lost the Ranfurly Shield. They are like notorious for keeping the Shield. They always, whenever they have the Shield, the game it's like a big game for them, and they almost like they're more about the Shield than they worry about the rest of the NPC. They lost the Shield against Tasman last weekend. And Waikato, in my opinion, been quite impressive at home. I like Waikato here. What did you say is the minus there, Brent? Sorry.
3.5.
3.5, yeah. Waikato. But I've seen there's quite a bit of rain expected for Hamilton. So it's a 7 o'clock in the evening kickoff on Saturday night there. It's going to be very wet. I saw a post on the forum by Pablo taking the under 54.5 here, and I think that's a very good bet. I like the minus, but I think the unders on points is the way to go here because the points is available.
Yeah, he said 54.5. I see PokerBet. They probably laid a bit of the unders and suspected something was on the go there with the weather, so they've suspended points there. Right, let's go on to Sunday. Counties Manukau. This is a 4 o'clock in the Sunday. The Oracle will be stumbling into his living room after a night out, and Henrik will be switching on the TV there. Counties Manukau plus 3.5 against Otago.
Yeah, Counties. Well, Otago they've done well in like pieces of the games, not like they would do well and then fall away. And yesterday again, they played against a second. They had a B team and Wellington had B team because it was storm week for them. They played 3 games in 8 days, something like that. And Wellington obviously focusing on the game against Tasman because that is a shield game. But so Otago, they were quite disappointing yesterday for me. Counties, they're impressing me and especially in the second half as well. They're like a second half team. I think Counties the way to go here in this game.
Right, let's go on to the next one then. Also on Sunday, of course, this is also early kickoff, so these ones taking place at the same time. The Tasman Makos against the Wellington Lions, minus 1.5 the home team and a points line of 51.5.
Yeah, massive game here, Brent. This is the Shield game. Like I said, Tasman won the Shield off Hawke's Bay last week, and now they have to defend it against Wellington. Wellington, they are in the storm week, so they've got they played yesterday. They played like a BOC team yesterday and still beat Otago in Dunedin. So Wellington obviously going full out for this game to take the Shield from Tasman. This game is being played in Blenheim, so it's not Tasman's normal home ground. Big game. I'm leaning towards Tasman here, Brent. Towards Wellington. Sorry, towards Wellington. Wellington been very impressive. The few games I've seen from them, their defense is very, very good, and then they get 1 or 2 opportunities and they take that and they get their points. But yeah, I've been very impressed with them. I saw the first game against Auckland as well. They had very little of the ball, defended the whole time, defended great in their 22, and whenever they get the ball, they move it wide and they just score points. So I like it's close to a choice game. I like Wellington quite strong here, even though it's a home game for Tasman, and it is, like I said, it's a Shield game, which is a massive game. I think Wellington's going to take the Shield here.
Right, Northland up against Auckland, plus 9.5 Northland here against the Auckland side, and 56.5 total points.
Yeah, sorry, what's the handicap again? Sorry, plus
9.5 Northland against
plus
Auckland.
9.5 for the home team. Yeah, Auckland, they broke their duck last weekend, won at last. Yeah, 9.5 at home for Northland, probably leaning towards Northland, towards the Taniwa. But Harry Plummer is back for Auckland, and he's quite important for them. Yeah, I'm unsure, Brent. I'm going to call no bet on this one.
I think that's the end then of the NPC matches for the weekend. Thanks for that, Hendrik. And then we go up to the man who's just been described as a 23-year-old George Clooney lookalike. I'm not sure about the 23 years old. I'm also not sure about the George Clooney. But Oracle, yeah, NPC is not your game, but I'm no doubt you're looking forward to the Rugby Championship next week.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm better looking than that George Clooney guy. If it was him and I and 6 women in the room, they'd all come to my table. He won't win that one. That's race over. Put the results in and pay the punters. I just want to talk about last week. So last week I said Pumas was my best bet, and I actually suggested to people take the -9.5 and the Sharks -9.5. No, sorry, I didn't say 9.5. I said take them both on the board. And, I wanted to give Argentina a proper go like I did the week before. I mean, how was that Argentinian game? And if you really want to have some entertainment, there's a guy called Wildcard with a K on YouTube. He's an Australian fan. You must go and see this guy's reaction to that. He's an Australian fan. Yeah, I think I sent you a link, Brent. My gosh, that is so funny. I mean, and also I just want to point out that the rugby media has got it wrong. When I say they've got it wrong, 80% of the rugby websites this week called that a record win. And it wasn't a record win. It was a record points scored against Australia. So 67 was the record, but the margin wasn't the record. 45 was the record before. This was only a 40-point win. But Australia were leading 20 points to 3 at one stage. And I didn't watch the game. I watched a bit of the highlights. But, I mean, that's crazy. They just absolutely switched off and got murdered. So, spread betting, Brent. I think the guys that went for Argentina, they would have got stop lost before they even got to the end of the game, especially at 20 points to 3. But I'm happy for Argentina. It was a great result for them. And, I think Australian rugby is in trouble. I mean, we're reading articles like the Lions should come to South Africa instead of Australia. I mean, they're in massive trouble, and we know it's not their first sport. It's their third or fourth or fifth sport. They're going to New Zealand for the Bledisloe Cup, and they're not in trouble. They're in words I can't say on this family show. They're in proper trouble.
They are hosting. So just while you're on that topic, they are hosting the first game against New Zealand in Sydney, I believe it is. Plus 12.5 Australia there. The handicap is fairly stable.
Not enough. They'll probably start closer to 20. It's just not enough. And I think that a mediocre New Zealand team, and let's not play games here. New Zealand were within, a score. Yes, they lost by, was it 6, 8? I can't remember. 6, yeah. 6. They were within a score of winning both of those games in South Africa. Yes, we saw that stat. They haven't scored in their last 4 games. They haven't scored points in the last 20 minutes. And you've got to go back to that game against South Africa. If you're looking at that stat, they scored that try. It was 35-0, and they scored the try right at the end at Twickenham. But, New Zealand haven't scored points in the last 20 minutes. I expect that stat to change. I think whatever record, this 67's in trouble and the 45's in trouble in at least one of 2 of these games. I think they're in huge trouble. And Argentina, geez, I mean, Henrik, every time I see your face on this show, I remember that night back in 2016 or 2017 when I wore my Argentinian shirt that I bought at Pick and Pay for $60 after the 2011 World Cup. When I was wearing it, and you were quite bullish on South Africa, and I just had that feeling they were going to win that game, and they were 22-10 at the time, and they won that game, and of course they can win this game, and I do believe that Rassie doesn't care about this rugby championship. I think he wins it anyway. I think South Africa win this anyway. They priced up at 1-100, and I suggested last week take the 20-1 Argentina. You can probably cash out if you want to at a profit. Had New Zealand won that game on weekend,
they're still about 20-1, Gav.
Yeah,
you did mention it the week before. I think last week they were a lot bigger price. Yeah.
Yeah. So had New Zealand won one of those games, this 20-1 would have been a 2-1 shot. I mean, it would have dramatically dropped. And of course they can win. And I'm expecting a full stadium. And I'll tell you, out of my bucket list rugby matches to watch in the world, and I haven't watched this. I was actually at the game in Kings Park when Argentina won for the first time against South Africa. And I still remember punting them at halftime when they were down. And I think I got over 2-1 at the time. I lost my bet. Argentina won. My kid was one of the flag bearers he ran on while he was standing on the side of the field. But a bucket list for me is going to watch South Africa play Argentina in Argentina. That's something I want to do in the next 5 to 10 years. I know that going to watch South Africa play New Zealand in New Zealand's a great one for a lot of people, but that's the one I'm happy to watch. Argentina is a great place for good wine and good beef and all sorts of other things. It's quite a cheap country, so I'd rather go to Argentina than go to New Zealand. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I think New Zealand smashed this Australian team, and I think that the Argentina game against South Africa could be quide close. However, the game in Nelspruit the following week, I think South Africa win it, and they win it comfortably. So for me, I wouldn't get involved in this game. Maybe a speculative Argentina board bet here, but I wouldn't be backing South Africa at a minus in Argentina. I know they've taken, and this is for the guys that think I don't know anyone's name, Edwil van der Merwe, my current favorite Lions scrum half, is being put on the plane, and he's going over there. I don't know if he'll get any game time, but I'm quite excited about him. I think he played that game against Portugal in Bloemfontein.
Edwil van der Merwe was a wing, Gav. You're talking about Morne van der Berg, I think his name is.
Yes. Sorry, yes. Okay. Morne. Yeah, well, I was talking about both of them, actually. Just shows you I don't know their names. I mean, it's my team and I don't know their names. So I'm laughing with you. Don't worry. You can laugh at me. I'm happy.
We'll talk further about the Rugby Championship next week.
We're laughing with you, Gavin. We're laughing with you.
We're laughing with you. But Henrik, I'd like to get your opinion. I just want to ask Henrik, one question. Last week, okay, I was on the -4.5 South Africa, but I got a bit greedy near kickoff and I took -5.5 as well. Now, South Africa, Mark scores are trying to put us 6 ahead. The conversion misses. Is that a good or a bad thing for the -5.5? Because then we led by 6. In my mind, okay, look, New Zealand, in my mind, I'm thinking if New Zealand get a penalty in the 8 down, they'll go for it and they'll get it to 5. So I was actually happy when that conversion missed. Would you agree with that?
100%, Brent. That's the way I think about it as well. As a punter, you always the kicks are so important, and that 6 or 8 points. That's a big difference in the way the team's gonna approach, because they're gonna be in your 22 now again. They're probably gonna get a penalty somewhere in your half, and then if it's a long range one, they'll kick it post if they are 8 points down, because they have to get within a score. So yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm happy with the kick being missed.
And anything catch your eye early here? Because there hasn't been a lot of movement. I think South Africa did open up also around the 13.5, 12.5. And there has been money for Argentina. I did check Bet Exchange's site out, and they were 7.5 Argentina, suggesting, but they seem these days, and I like it. They seem to take a view on some of these games. I'm not necessarily sure it's driven by punters' money, but they 7.5, so you can get 7.5, 9.5 Australia and Argentina, and the Australia game fairly stable. Anything for you at this early stage that catches the eye?
Yeah, so Brent, last week I was also on the -5.5 South Africa, so just scrapped in. And then the before I get onto this week's game, that Argentina game, initially I fancied the minus on Argentina, and then I switched to points, and I decided I'm going to take overs on total points, because that line was just too low, and I also took overs on Australia points, and that cruised them. They lost by a record margin, but my overs on Australia points still won easily.
It proved, although we had to wait from the 20th point, which, I mean, they were leading 3-3. We had to wait until about the 67th minute when McDermott took that tap and ran through half the Argentina pack to score. But that was my bet for the game, Australia points. So I won my bet, but I read the game totally wrong.
Yeah. But it was inevitable in such a being 20 up so early. You know you're gonna get a try somewhere. Especially the way the game opened up in the second half.
I was never worried.
Yeah, this week's game or next week's games. I'm gonna touch on the South African one first. Like I said, I've got some sort of rule for myself not to bet against Rassie. So I'm not gonna bet against the box. I'm leaning towards the minus. Not very confident at this stage, but I think our forwards are so much better than anybody else's forwards, because Argentina they played great last week, but I think our forwards will still do enough for us to win this game by double figures. And I don't think the away game is such a big issue here for the box, especially with a lot of our players playing overseas. I think the minus is the way to go there. And then the other game, probably going to be a bit controversial, but I'm going to wait for the money to come for New Zealand. I was hoping for a higher plus. I'm going to wait for a higher plus. I hope the money streams in for New Zealand, and I'm going to back Australia on the plus.
I can tell you one thing. If Australia beat New Zealand next week, I'm watching the breakdown. I might even fly over to New Zealand to watch the breakdown live. I'm loving that program at the moment. Just watching these oaks sweat after all those years of gloating. But anyway, yeah, I must say I don't have any firm view on this, but we've obviously got a bit of time to talk about that one. That brings us to the last part of the show, which is the best bets. And Henrik, I'll start off with you. We don't have a lot to talk about. Obviously, Currie Cup at NPC for you, Currie Cup for Gavin, and anything else you might fancy on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the NPC for my best bet. I like Wellington to take the shield off Tasman. So that's probably my best bet. Second best, I'm gonna go on for the unders in Hamilton, Waikato versus Hawke's Bay at under 54.5. If you can still get that, because you said it's suspended now, so you're probably not gonna get that line. You're gonna get less than 50. So then it's probably you missed the value. So yeah. Wellington to win, my best bet. In the Currie Cup, I'm with you on the Lions. I think the Lions should do the job.
Right, Gavin, your best bet?
Yeah, Lions minus for me, Brent, definitely the best bet. And I'm going to say if you want to double that onto the Sharks on the board, I wouldn't bother with a plus. If they lose the game, they probably lose it badly, 15, 20 points. But I do think they've got a chance at winning. And that'll just boost your Lions bet. So, yeah, I'm a Sharks punter because of price, not because of anything else. I just think it's a decent price. And I've got this Sharks away at Bulls game wrong many times. So that's a warning to anybody who's watched. I've often gone on the Sharks plus away at Bulls, and I've got it wrong. I just wanted to say something to Henrik. I haven't watched the game with you, Henrik. Obviously, in fact, my phone reminded me it was 2 years ago. We all three of us got together at the waterfront. I got a memory update. You may have got the same thing. So, yeah, it's been a while since we had a beer together. I just want to say one thing, though. One day when you decide to go to Durban to watch a rugby game, and yeah, it might happen in your lifetime, please take me with you, because that's an experience that you have to not miss in your life. That should be a bucket list for you. Because I've meet you there. I've watched rugby all over South Africa, and Durban is definitely the best place to watch rugby from a social perspective. So a couple of hours before the game and many hours after, I've left Kings Park at 4 or 5 in the morning after a rugby game the night before, and I wasn't alone. There's so many cars parked there. Oaks come back and fetch their cars. It's such a festive thing, and anybody in the comments who's been to a Kings Park game will tell you it was my first rugby game. In fact, I watched soccer at Ellis Park 10 times before I saw rugby. Just rugby in Durban definitely beats all of these other stadiums in South Africa. I was going to say one other thing. I shouted home the $2,500 an ounce gold price. Well, it hit $2,550 today. If you're long on the gold, you're in the money. It's absolutely cruising. It's going to get to 3,000 by the end of the year. But yes, I'm looking forward to the same. Oh, sorry, one more thing, and I got to give SA Rugby a thumbs up here, or pats on the back, whatever you call it. We saw that URC fixtures were starting next week, and we knew that quite a while ago. We also saw that the Currie Cup final was next week, and we knew that for a long time. And they've actually taken away the URC South African fixtures for next week. So all eyes on the Currie Cup final next week. I think that's a big up. Big up to South African rugby. Obviously, we'll play those extra games in the December break. When I say December break, when the South African teams play each other. So well done to them. Instead of double booking and conflicting everybody's brain, I think it was a great move. I don't know who made that decision, but I think it was very good. And I was happy to see a couple of those rural games, and I spoke about it last week. Very excited to see Currie Cup going rural, and I hope they do more of that next season. But yes, looking forward to a decent Lions punt, and Sharks on the board for a bit of value, and their price is probably about right.
Henrik, you got something for us there?
At the beginning of the show, you put a banner on that this is not financial advice, and now we've got Gavin taking beyond the gold price.
Yeah, he's giving us gold and share anything on Bitcoin there, Gav.
No, that's dangerous. Stay away from Bitcoin.
Anyway, guys,
get it
thanks very much.
sold.
Like, we got a good weekend there. I can tell you everything riding on the Lions for me. That'll be my crucial game, although I'm finding myself, I'm sure, going to get involved in the Bulls as well. And to all the boys in the live chat, good to have you on. Remember, there's the links down below to the forum thread where guys place their bets. And I would say subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get it tomorrow, but you won't. You'll get it next week, Friday, because this week's
Got it
newsletter
today.
came out. Sorry?
Yes, we got it today.
Yeah, got it today. I came out. Okay. You know what? When there are only 2 rugby games, effectively, I mean, Henrik's got a few more to look at, but when there's so few rugby games, and I like the Lions minus, I thought, you know what? Let's just go with it. Because normally I like to do ACCAs and that, but there's just not enough games there for me. So I decided to put the newsletter out early. Let's hope it pays off and the Lions arrive for us. But I'm really, really looking forward to that game. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday night, 9 o'clock, for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters.